So, yep, I'm
Thank
recording
you.
now. You're welcome. So I'm gonna post this recording in the week, uh, yeah, 8 page of the Moodle Room, the test week. So you can watch this recording later. Um, so you will see 30 questions in the exam, 27 multiple choice questions, which are 3 points each. And you will see 2 short answer questions. These are 3.5 points each. And you will see 1 essay question, which is 12 points. That's huge. Um, for the essay question, you must write you will see a work of art in the essay question. Then you have to mention which theme of art the artist use, and you're gonna analyze based on the formal analysis. So I'm gonna let you know about this in detail. Any question about this no, test information?
No.
No? Okay, let's move on. Oh, one more thing. Um, please review all your answers before you finish the test session because the attempt will be allowed only one time. So this is the first chapter. We learned what is art. So we talked about the idea of art has changed by history. So this work of art was for the modern and postmodern time period example. So this is the Marshall Duchamp's fountain work. He just took this urinal as a work of art. That types of art is called ready-made. So art has changed like this. In the ancient time, art was totemic, and in Middle Age, art is craft. In Renaissance, art is painting, sculpture, architecture with a skilled technique. Lastly, art means diverse genre. Also, we learned art and beauty. Art is not always produce the pleasure. No, it also can inspire sadness, horror, pity, awe, and all full range of the other emotions. So art can be beautiful, but not all art tries to be beautiful. Just like this example. So this work of art shows sadness, and this work of art shows a pessimistic view of human nature. And we learned art and appearances. Um, so these are Pablo Picasso's work, right? And the left one is the traditional way, very skilled representational painting style. Pablo Picasso mastered this traditional style when he was a teenager, but suddenly he abandoned this um, and then he created to a new style of art like this abstract art. There was something invented. Do you remember why?
Photography.
Perfect. Yeah, because of photography. So for some artists, photography meant the end of the painting. So manual skills were no longer needed to create the visual record. And to see the meaning of art, we have to check the form and content in a work of art, and we can find the meaning through the materials and the techniques, and we can find the iconography. Iconography means describing images, and also we can see the meaning of art through context. So let's move on to the next chapter, themes of art. This chapter is important for the last essay question. Here. So like I said, the essay question will be 12 points, and 2 points will be about the themes of art. So when you see a work of art, you have to write which themes of art the artist use. So here is the options. So you must find one of the themes of art here. And here is a huge hint. The work of art for the last essay question is coming from this chapter. Okay, so you will see one of the work of art from this chapter, and you must write which themes of art the artist to use. So we learned the sacred realm, politics and the social order, stories and the histories, picturing the here and now, invention and fantasy, the natural world, and reflecting on the human experience. And then you're going to proceed the formal analysis, one of the work of art in this chapter. So formal analysis is based on visual elements and the principles of design. Now, we learned this chapter, right? That part is going to be 10 points. Formal analysis, it doesn't need to, know like the artist's name, the artwork's title, and the creation date and the context. You don't need to you don't need to know all about that kind of information. You don't need to know. So you will just find all kind of factors of the work based on the visual elements and the principles of design. That's all. So here is the example, the sacred realm and politics and the social order, another politics and the social order work, stories and the histories, picturing the here and now, invention and fantasy, the natural world, reflecting on the human experience. That's it. Now, let's see what the formal analysis through this chapter, engaging with form and content. So again, you will proceed the formal analysis of a work of art based on the visual elements and the principles of design, because formal analysis means the process of analyzing the elements and the principles used by the artist. So here is the what the visual elements and the principles of design. So visual elements include line, shape and mass, light, color, texture and pattern, space, and time and motion. And the principles of design includes unity and variety, balance, emphasis and subordination, scale and proportion, and rhythm. So when you see a work of art, you will find all these factors, and they have to be, they have to, make sense. You cannot just stay like, oh, there is a line. So what kind of line? We learned, lots of, line factors, right? You have to mention, specifically, so, the lines factors in a work of art, for example. So let's see the visual elements in detail. So we will see these two chapters now. These two chapters are really important for the essay question and the multiple choice questions. So you will see lots of multiple choice questions related to these two chapters. So if you review these two chapters, then you can just automatically prepare the last question, the essay question. So now let's see the visual elements. So again, the visual elements include line, shape, and mass, light, texture and pattern, space, color, time, and motion. So we learned now line has three primary functions. The first one is to record the borders of form. And the second primary function is to describe surfaces and shapes. And the last primary function is to convey direction and motion. So let's see in detail. So, so we learned the contour line and the outline, right? So the contour line looks like this. There is no defined line for this circle, but we can recognize there is a circle based on the color shading. And this is outlined with the defined line. So here is a similar concept with the contour line, which is called implied line. So the apple now shows the now it doesn't have any defined line, but we can see there is an apple because it is drawn with the drawing skills. So that is implied line. Also, the line shows direction and movement. So horizontal line shows calm and quiet, and vertical lines implies more of a potential for movement. And diagonal lines show a strong movement, vitality. So we saw an example for this. Which direction can you find in this work of art? Which direction of line?
Diagonal.
Diagonal. Perfect. You're so ready to take the midterm. Yep, it's diagonal. Now let's move on to the shape and mass. So the actual object is called positive shape in art, and the background called negative shape. So here is a same name. The figure is the positive shape, and the negative shape is also called ground or background. And we learned implied shape. So we can recognize there is a triangle on the center by psychological connection of the edges. That is called implied shapes. And let's move on to the light. So light is represented in works of two-dimensional art to define and describe figures in space. And there was an implied light. To create the implied light, artists use modeling mass, on the two-dimensional surface to create the three-dimensional texture with the value scale, drawing skill. Now let's move on to the texture and pattern. So these are the actual texture, and there is a visual texture. It is implied the sense of texture. That artists create through the use of various artistic elements such as line, shading, and color. And the pattern. So pattern is any decorative, repetitive motif or design in abstract ideas. Now, let's move on to the space. Now, artists can create implied space, and there are three types of implied space. The first one is linear perspective with the vanishing point on the center, which is really good technique to compact many objects in a limited space. And the second one is foreshortening. So foreshortening is a technique used in perspective to create the illusion of an object receding strongly into the distance or background. Looks dynamic. And the last one, atmospheric perspective, which is used for the landscape work of art. And the color. There is a color wheel, and we saw primary, secondary, tertiary colors here. And color has properties: hue, value, saturation. So hue is the name of color, like red, orange, yellow. Value is the lightness or darkness of the color, and the saturation is the purity of a color. And there are two ways to see the colors: by light, which is called additive color; by pigment, which is called subtractive color. So additive color is called RGB color, and subtractive color is called CMYK color. And we can see optical effects of color. So there are two kind of optical effects of color in this chapter. So the simultaneous contrast is the first one. When there are two colors side by side, these colors interact with one another and change our perception accordingly. And the most popular simultaneous contrast that artists use is complementary colors. So like this example, the Vincent van Gogh's work. So on the left work, the artist used blue color and the orange color. These are complementary color. And on the right work, the artist used green and red color here to create the complementary color. And the optical color mixture. So when small patches of different colors are close together, the eye may blend them to produce a new color. So for example, pointillism. So like this, now the left box consists of the tons of red and blue dots, and with the half closed eyes, then we can see purple color in this box. That is called optical color mixture by mixing colors in our eyes. and time and motion. So, we learned implied motion. We do not actually see the motion happening, but visual clues tell us motion. Here, like this work of art, the figures poses are so dynamic and theatrical, so we could feel we are in the middle of the action. So that is called implied motion. And the illusion of motion, artists can create an illusion through visual tricks, like this work of art. And all kinds of moving art pieces are called kinetic art. Now, let's see the principles of design. So the principles of design include unity and variety, balance, scale and proportion, emphasis and subordination, pattern and rhythm. So unity means oneness, and variety means differences. So all artworks include unity and variety together. So here is an example. So in this work of art, the artist used the same technique like splashing paint, the household paint on the work surface. That is the unity, and then to create the variety, the artist used a different colors, and the the splashing shapes are all different. So that is also the variety parts. And balance. So balance refers to an apparent heaviness or lightness. In the balance, we learned symmetrical balance and asymmetrical balance. A symmetrical balance is the mirror image of shapes or forms on the either side of an imaginary axial dividing line like this. And the asymmetrical balance is two sides that do not correspond to one another in size, shape, and placement. And we learned 6 types of general asymmetrical balance types. So this work of art now shows the second asymmetrical balance type, like the dark form and the light form of the same size. And now let's see the scale and proportion. So scale, the small scale pieces force viewers to come in close to experience the artwork. And the large scale works can be experienced by groups of viewers and usually communicate big ideas. And the proportion. So the relationship between the sizes of different parts of a work make up its proportions. So the most popular proportion the artist used since the ancient time is the golden section. The Athens. The Parthenon Athens is also used golden section. Now let's move on to the emphasis and subordination. So all artworks has emphasis, focal point, and subordination. So in this work of art, these two figures are the emphasis and the background is the subordination. And between these two figures, the young boy is the focal point. And also in this work, the light part is emphasis part, and this innocent guy is the focal point, and the dark area is the subordination. And pattern. So pattern is any decorative, repetitive motif or design in abstract ideas. So a design repeated as a unit is called motif. With the repeating motif, artists can create a pattern. And there are four types of rhythm in art we can find in a work of art. Visual rhythm, simple repetitive rhythm, progressive rhythm, alternating rhythm. So now we just went through the principles of design visual elements. In 1 second. So for example, so this kind of work, let me see. So when we proceed the formal analysis, based on this work of art, I can say like, about the color first. So, let's just say the balance first. So this work of art is using the asymmetrical balance, like the second factor of the asymmetrical balance, like the dark form and the light form of the same size, right? And the dark form is heavier than the light one. Also, I can see these two figures are the emphasis in this work of art, and the background is the subordination. But I realized this lady, the young pregnant lady, is the focal point because the artist used the complementary colors here, the green color and the red color. These are the opposite side of the color wheel, so that these are the complementary colors to stand the viewer's eyes and to get the little more attention in the work of art. So I can say this lady is the focal point. Also, the artist create the implied space by using the linear perspective. Here is the vanishing point on the center of this work to compact the many things in a limited space, like that. So that is a formal analysis. You don't need to know the artist's name. You don't need to know the artist's title. You don't need to know the creation, you know, day of the work or year. Also, you don't need to know the context of a work. So you will find the just analyze all kind of factors based on the visual elements and the principles of design. That is a formal analysis. All right, now let's move on to the drawing. So in this chapter, you will just see what kind of drawing materials we learned. Please just to check that part. So we learned graphite and the metal point, which is the ancestors' drawing tool and the charcoal and crayon and pastel and chalk. And in this chapter, we learned the collage, right? With the paper history. The Pablo Picasso's friend Georges Braque invented this types of art, and after Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque, many artists adopted this method of composing a picture by gathering bits and pieces from various sources. So it looks like this, and we've made this work through the sketchbook project. Now let's move on to the painting. In this chapter, we learned 4 painting styles: the traditional way, fresco, tempera, oil, acrylic. So fresco is a wall painting technique since ancient time, with the plaster support. And the tempera. Tempera's vehicle is egg yolk, and it dries very quickly. And oil. So oil paint consists of pigment compounded with oil. It dries slow, so at a room temperature, so artists can revise their work on the work surface. And the acrylic. So acrylic is a strong, weatherproof industrial paint. It can mimic the effects of the oil paint and the watercolor with the concentration of the water. And now let's move on to the print. So we saw the first 4 print technique, the ancient print technique in this, the traditional print technique in this chapter: relief, intaglio, lithography, screen printing. So relief printing, this is the side view of the plate. The top part, the raised area, hold the ink. So all these kinds of printing technique is called relief. So there are wood cut, wood engraving, lino cut, we learned. And intaglio. So intaglio is the reverse way of the relief print. So the incised area, the drawing area, hold the ink. That's intaglio. And there are dry point, etching, aqua tint. So for the dry point, artists just use a needle, dry point needle, to make a scratch on the plate and then print it out. And for the etching, it's also using the needle to make a sketch or drawing on the plate, but make a depression by acid. And the aqua tint, the printmakers just make the create the images by the acid depression. No needle required for this technique. That's the differences. It looks like this. And the third one, lithography. So lithography is totally different technique with relief and etching. The image area on the lithography plate holds ink, and the non-image area repel the ink. So no curving, needle drawing, or acid depression are required. So here, for the lithography, printmakers are using the limestone, and here is the grease pencil. So this grease pencil hold the ink, hold the oil-based ink. The screen printing. So basically for the screen printing, you will need the screen, and then the gray part is blocked with the special substance, and the image area. Through the image area, it pass the ink to the paper. And the tool is called like squeezy. And sculpture. So we learned the traditional sculpture styles and the innovative sculpture styles in modern. So these are the traditional styles. There are two ways: subtractive and additive. Subtractive sculpture style are here: curving, drilling, chiseling, chipping, whittling, sawing. And the additive style is modeling, casting, constructing. Now, these are the examples. And let's see the innovative sculpture styles. So there are earthwork and construction, assemblage, ready-made. We saw the ready-made on the very first page. Now, and kinetic and light sculpture, and the installation. So that's it. So again, the exam is this Wednesday, March 2nd, and the test session will be opened on Wednesday from 3:50 to 5:50, and after this time period, the test session will be closed. You cannot access the test session at all. Also, there is a time limitation. It's 90 minutes, so please come on time to take the midterm. You will not come this meeting room. You're gonna straightly go to the model room. Go to week 8. Go to week 8, and you will see here Art 100, 05V midterm examination session. So click this to take the midterm. You don't need to come here to check your attendance. This test session automatically check your attendance. But I'm gonna stay here in the model room. So if you have any technical issues or questions, you can join this meeting room and then ask me. And please review all your answers before you finish this test session. At the end of the test, you will see a finish attempt button. You must click that to finish the session. Before you click that finish test session button, please review your answers because the attempt will be allowed only one time. And you will see 30 questions in the midterm, 27 multiple choice questions, 3 points each, 2 short answer questions, 3.5 points each, and 1 essay question, which is 12 points. Also, please, when you review all the chapters, please check like each page. Each page is, videos, the reference videos, and then check all the sketchbook projects, files as well, included the lecture files. Please check all of them.